I hadn't planned to stay past dessert. Weddings aren't really my thing. Too much pretending, too many faces smiling for cameras and not for each other. But then she walked in, and I forgot how to leave. She wasn't supposed to be there, not in my world anyway. She was the maid of honor. I was just a college friend of the groom, another guy in a wrinkled suit, half drunk and trying not to look awkward. She had that quiet kind of presence that makes a room lose volume. Every conversation around her softened, as if the air itself knew to respect her silence. I remember the first time she looked at me, really looked. Not the polite glance people give before turning away, but something slower. Her eyes lingered just long enough for me to feel exposed. She was older, easily 20 years or more. But there was something in the way she held her champagne glass, fingers steady, unbothered by all the noise around us. I couldn't tell if it was confidence or exhaustion. Maybe both. "Why aren't you dancing?" she asked later, when the lights dimmed and couples filled the floor. "I'm trying not to embarrass myself," I said. She smiled, not big, but enough. "That's a good reason. Still, you're missing the best part." She turned toward the dance floor, watching the bride spin under cheap fairy lights, her face unreadable. I wanted to ask what she was thinking, but something about her silence told me I wouldn't get a real answer. Instead, I said, "You look like someone who's seen this all before." Her eyebrow lifted. "Maybe I have." And then she left it there, dangling between us like an unfinished sentence. Later, outside the venue, I found her again. She stood near the parking lot, heels in one hand, cigarette in the other, the smoke rising in slow curls. The music inside was muffled, only the bass reaching us. "I thought you left," she said without turning around. "I tried," I admitted. "Didn't get far." She laughed under her breath, a sound that felt more like confession than humor. "You shouldn't say things like that." "Why not?" "Because I might believe you." That one caught me off guard. I didn't know how to answer. There was something fragile about the way she said it, like a warning she didn't want to give. The air between us thickened, quieter than before. I could hear the gravel crunching under her bare feet when she shifted her weight. I wanted to say something, anything, but the words didn't come out right. "You seem—" I stopped. She turned to face me then, smoke curling from her lips. "Careful," she said softly. And I knew I'd crossed some invisible line. The bridesmaids found me before I could figure out what that meant. 3 of them, cheeks pink from champagne, laughing like conspirators. "Hey you!" one of them said, grabbing my arm. "We're not letting you leave alone tonight." They were teasing, drunk on joy and alcohol, but the timing, God, the timing, made it feel like the universe had set me up. Because when I looked back, the older woman was watching. Not smiling, not frowning, just watching. The bridesmaids kept pulling me toward the dance floor, but I couldn't look away from her. She stood in the doorway now, half lit by string lights, expression unreadable. For a second, I thought she might turn away. But she didn't. She just said, quietly enough that only I could hear, "Come find me when they're done with you." And then she disappeared inside. The laughter around me blurred. My pulse wouldn't slow. That was the moment I knew I wasn't leaving alone. I found her again 2 hours later, outside the hotel ballroom. Most people were too drunk to notice she'd slipped away. I told myself I just needed air, but I was lying even to myself. She sat on a low wall near the parking lot, shoes off again, dress gathered around her knees. Her phone glowed faintly in her hand. She wasn't texting anyone, just staring at the screen like it might tell her what to do next. "You followed me," she said, not looking up. I shrugged. "You told me to." That got a small smile. "You actually listen. That's rare." She set the phone down beside her, screen face down. The silence between us was thin, fragile. I sat beside her, leaving just enough space for the cool air to pass between us. close enough to smell the faint trace of wine and gardenia on her skin. You always this quiet? She asked. Only when I'm thinking too much. And what are you thinking? That you look like someone who's waiting for something that never comes. Her body tensed. The smile faded, replaced by that unreadable stillness again. You shouldn't say things like that, she said. Why not? Because they're too close to true. She looked straight ahead now, eyes reflecting the parking lights. I used to be married, she said finally. 17 years. He left. Not for someone younger, just someone else. That's worse, somehow. I didn't say anything. The kind of silence that followed didn't need words anyway. And you? She asked after a while. You look too young to be carrying ghosts. I laughed softly. Maybe I just hide them better. She turned her head slightly, studying me. You're what, 23? 24 last month. That's dangerous, she said under her breath, almost to herself. I wanted to ask what she meant, but I already knew. The age gap wasn't just numbers. It was years of living, of losing things she'd already learned to bury. I was the wrong side of time for her. You don't have to explain, I said. I'm not, she said quickly. I'm warning myself. Her voice cracked a little on the last word. For a long moment, neither of us moved. The night hummed softly around us, the low thump of music, distant laughter, a car door slamming shut. I felt the weight of everything we weren't saying pressing down between us. I should go, she whispered, though she didn't stand. Yeah, I said. You should. But I didn't move either. Our shoulders brushed, barely a touch, almost accidental. Her breath caught, sharp and quiet. You're too young to understand what this means, she said. Then explain it. She turned toward me fully now, eyes glassy, voice low. It means you'll think it's just a moment. And I'll know better. Her hand rested on the wall between us, open, uncertain. I didn't take it. I just let my fingers drift close enough that the back of my hand grazed hers. Neither of us pulled away. For a few seconds, we stayed like that, two people too aware of what shouldn't happen, and too powerless to stop it. And then, somewhere in the silence, she whispered, Don't make me want this. But she didn't move her hand. The next morning, the wedding was already dissolving, wilted flowers, empty bottles, confetti stuck to the pavement. I wasn't supposed to still be there, but I hadn't left. Neither had she. She was in the lobby when I came down, talking quietly to the bride, her hand wrapped around a paper coffee cup. Her hair was pinned up differently now, looser, like she'd stopped trying to look composed. When she saw me, she hesitated, just long enough to let me know she'd been thinking about it too. The bride waved at me. You two met last night, right? You should keep her company while I hunt down the photographer. She's been a lifesaver this weekend. She opened her mouth to protest, but I just smiled. Sure. I owe her a dance anyway. Her look said everything, don't start this. But it was too late for that. We ended up walking along the hotel garden path, the morning air still heavy with the smell of rain. She didn't speak for a while, then finally said, You shouldn't do that. Do what? Act like there's no consequence to being near me. There is, I said. I just don't care yet. She stopped walking. You don't understand. My son is your age. The words hit harder than I expected. Not because of what they meant, but because of how ashamed she looked saying them. I took a breath. Does that mean I remind you of him? Her eyes flashed. Don't twist this. You're not a child. Then stop treating me like one. That broke something open between us, a rush of everything unspoken since last night. We were too close now. The kind of close where breathing starts to sound like a confession. Her hand brushed my sleeve, accidental but not really. My chest tightened. I could feel the moment tipping, that one step between wanting and doing. Then the sound of footsteps. A man's voice behind us. There you are. She froze. He was tall, early 50s maybe, gray around the edges but with the kind of confidence that comes from ownership, of spaces, of people. He smiled at her, then looked at me. You must be one of the younger guests, he said. I'm Mark. I nodded. Evan. He shook my hand, firm, assessing. You two were. She cut in quickly. Just getting some air. Her voice was calm, practiced. Too practiced. He slipped an arm around her waist, easy, familiar. And just like that I understood. The marriage she said had ended hadn't fully let her go. Maybe it never would. He turned to her. They're serving brunch. Come on. She hesitated, eyes flicking to me for a half-second. Guilt, longing, both flickered across her face before she masked it again. Go, I whispered. She nodded barely, and let him lead her away. But right before they turned the corner, she looked back. Not a long look, just enough. Enough to say this isn't over. And I knew, even before she disappeared into the hotel, that I wasn't leaving that place cleaned out I tried to leave that afternoon. I really did. My bag was packed, car keys in hand, map glowing on my phone. But I never started the engine. I just sat there, staring at the hotel entrance, waiting for a reason not to go. She was that reason. She walked out alone around sunset, still in the same dress from the night before, hair down now, sunglasses hiding the exhaustion in her eyes. Mark was gone, a meeting, she'd said earlier, too casually to be true. When she saw me in the car, she stopped. Her hand gripped the strap of her purse tighter, like she was bracing herself. You're still here, she said. So are you. Don't do that, she muttered, looking away. Do what? Make this sound simple? It isn't simple, I said. But it's real. Her jaw tightened. You don't know what's real for me. I stepped out of the car. The air smelled like wet pavement and lilies from the garden behind her. She looked at me the way people look at fire, drawn, but terrified of the burn. You think I don't know what this is? I said. You think I haven't thought about it, every second since last night? She shook her head. You're a kid who doesn't understand consequences. Stop calling me that. She took a step back. You'd ruin your life for this? No, I said quietly. I'd ruin my peace. That silenced her. For a long moment, all I could hear was the wind moving through the leaves. Then she laughed softly, bitterly. You have no idea what you're saying. Then tell me, I said. Tell me to leave. Tell me I imagined it. Her lips parted, but no sound came. She just stared at me, and I could see the war behind her eyes. Finally she said, You think this makes me feel alive? It doesn't. It makes me feel ashamed. Her voice cracked on that last word. Something in me snapped. I closed the space between us, not touching her yet, but close enough that I could see the pulse in her throat. Then why are you shaking? Her breath caught. Because I want to stop, and I can't. Neither of us moved. The tension was unbearable, coiled between us like a thread stretched to breaking. She tried to turn away. I caught her wrist gently. She didn't pull back. You can't do this, she whispered. I already am. For a second, the world shrank to just that, her breath on my skin, the tremor in her fingers, the heat between us that refused to fade. Her phone buzzed in her purse. She flinched. The sound broke whatever spell we'd been under. Mark's name flashed across the screen. She stared at it, then at me. Her lips trembled, a single tear threatening but not falling. Don't, she said softly. Not now. But I didn't step back. And she didn't either. I didn't hear from her for 2 days. No calls. No messages. Not even a glance on social media. I told myself it was over, a moment of madness, burned out by distance and common sense. Then I got the message. Can we talk? 10 minutes later, I was outside her house. It was smaller than I expected, neat and quiet, with the kind of calm that hides too much. She opened the door before I could knock twice. No makeup, hair pulled back, eyes tired. She didn't look like the woman from the wedding. She looked like someone who'd been avoiding mirrors. Come in, she said, barely above a whisper. The house smelled like coffee and something burning. She'd left a mug on the counter, untouched, cold. I shouldn't have called you, she said quickly. But you did. She winced. He knows. Mark? She nodded. About us. Or something close enough. I felt my stomach drop. How? He heard us, she said. That night in the garden. He didn't say anything then, but when we got home, he knew. I didn't breathe for a few seconds. What did he do? Nothing, she said. That's the worst part. He just looked at me like I'd become someone he didn't recognize. Said he was leaving for a while. Didn't ask for details. Didn't yell. Just left. I ran a hand through my hair, pacing. Do you want me to go? She shook her head. I don't know what I want. Something in her voice cracked open, fear maybe, or relief. I couldn't tell. You could have lied, I said quietly. I've done enough lying, she whispered. I told him it wasn't what he thought. But I don't think he believed me. I took a slow breath. Did you? She blinked. What? Believe yourself. Her eyes filled, not with tears exactly, but with that hollow shine people get when they've run out of pretending. I don't know anymore, she said. I just know I felt something I wasn't supposed to. Before I could answer, a car door slammed outside. She froze. Stay here, she whispered. She went to the window, pulled the curtain just enough to peek. Her shoulders stiffened. It's him, she said. What, Mark? She turned pale. He wasn't supposed to come back until tomorrow. Panic crawled up my spine. Then I should know, she said sharply. If he sees you leaving, it'll make it worse. The doorbell rang. Her hand gripped mine. Don't move. Please. Footsteps approached the porch. Then a voice, calm, steady, too calm. Claire, he called. We need to talk. She looked at me, eyes wide, tears finally breaking loose. This isn't what you think, she whispered, though I wasn't sure of who she meant, him or me. The doorbell rang again, longer this time. And just before she turned toward the door, she said, almost under her breath, I told him your name. The sound of the doorbell cut through everything, the air, the space between us, the thin layer of calm we were pretending to have. Claire, Mark called again, voice steady but too steady. Open the door. She stood there frozen, one hand over her mouth, the other still clutching mine. Her pulse raced beneath her skin. Go, I whispered. I'll find a way out. She shook her head. No. If you leave now, it'll look worse. It already is worse, I said. The doorbell rang again, longer, sharper. She took a deep breath, straightened her posture, and walked to the door. I stepped back into the narrow hallway, heart pounding. I couldn't see them, only hear. The door opened. Hey, she said softly. Don't hey me, Claire. Mark's tone was still calm, but the calm of someone who's already decided something. You going to invite me in? A pause. Then footsteps. The door closed. I came back because I didn't like how we left things, he said. You've been distant for months. I didn't see it until that night. The garden. You weren't alone, were you? Silence. Then Claire said quietly, No. I wasn't. My breath caught. Mark exhaled, long and tired. I thought so. There was a sound, the creak of a chair, maybe. Then his voice again, softer. Who is he? Her answer came after a beat too long. Someone who reminded me what it feels like to be seen. That broke something in me. Not pride. Just the ache of hearing her tell him what I'd only hoped she'd ever admit to me. Mark didn't raise his voice. You're not the person I married anymore. No, she said. I'm not. He stood then. I could hear the floorboards shift. So what now, Claire? You want me to walk out, or do you want him to? I stepped forward before I could stop myself. I'll go, I said. Both of them turned toward me. Mark's eyes were steady, unflinching. Claire's were full of something I couldn't read, maybe gratitude, maybe heartbreak. You shouldn't have to, she said. I should, I replied. You have a life. One that existed before me. I can't ask you to burn it down. Mark watched us, the realization dawning in his expression, not anger, but understanding. So this is real, he said. It was never supposed to be, Claire whispered. He nodded slowly, looked at her one last time, then walked past me toward the door. Then figure out what you want before it ruins both of you. The door closed behind him. For a long time, neither of us spoke. Then Claire turned to me, tears streaking her face, voice barely a breath. You should hate me, she said. I don't, I told her. I just wish we'd met at a different time. She stepped closer, hand trembling as it brushed my cheek. If we had, I don't think I'd have been brave enough to want you. And that was the truth neither of us could undo. When I finally left, the sun was setting. She stood in the doorway, barefoot, watching me go. No promises. No goodbye. Just that look, the kind that says we'll carry this forever, even if we never say another word. It's been 3 months. Long enough for the wedding photos to fade from everyone's feeds. Long enough for people to forget who sat where, who danced with whom. Except me. I still remembered the smell of lilies from that night, the sound of her laugh half hidden under the music, the way she said, "Come find me," like a dare. I didn't think about love when I met her. Not the kind that complicates your life. I thought about moments, one conversation, one glance, one impossible choice. But moments grow roots when you least expect them. She texted me once after everything, just one message. Are you okay? I typed 100 versions of an answer, but never hit send. What could I say? That I missed her? That I couldn't walk into a cafe without scanning the room for someone her age, her walk, her stillness? That I kept catching myself reaching for something that was never mine to keep. Instead, I let it sit there. The unsent message. The ghost of what could have been. I heard from the bride a few weeks later. Casual conversation, she said Mark had moved out for good, that Claire was taking time for herself. I didn't ask more. I didn't have the right to. But sometimes, late at night, I picture her in that same quiet house, the one that smelled like coffee and regret, sitting by the window, barefoot, watching the light change. Maybe she's finally breathing again. Maybe she's free. And sometimes, I let myself believe she thinks about me too. Not with guilt. Not with longing. Just remembering that, for a little while, someone saw her the way she wanted to be seen. As for me, I'm learning to carry it. The way people carry old scars, not proudly, not ashamed, just there. Proof that something real once existed. Because love doesn't always end with someone staying. Sometimes it ends with someone understanding. The last time I saw her was by accident, a month ago, at a bookstore downtown. I was with friends, she was alone. She didn't see me at first. Then she did. For a moment, everything stopped, the noise, the crowd, the hum of traffic outside. Just us. She smiled. Small. Real. No apology, no regret. I smiled back. That was enough. We didn't need words anymore. We'd already said everything worth saying, in pauses, in touches that shouldn't have happened, in goodbyes that didn't sound like goodbyes. She turned away first, and I watched her go, disappearing between the shelves like a chapter closing itself. And for the first time, it didn't hurt. It just was. A quiet ending to something that never really began, and somehow, that made it beautiful. Did you enjoy the story?